Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of the Wax News Breakfast Blend and the first official episode of the 2017-18 year.
Today we dedicate this broadcast to bringing you all the information about a newly proposed capital improvement project dubbed Vision 2020.
Now, you may remember Wax News previously covering the work of a project known as Renovations 2014. Through our continued coverage, we provided updates as that project is now coming up in its final phase.
The work of Renovations 2014 aimed at addressing major infrastructure and safety concerns across the district and was organized and prioritized with a group called the Community-Based Committee, or CBC. Some of the major items addressed were constructing the secure entrances at the middle school and high school buildings, a major overhaul of the high school cafeteria, significant reworking of the intermediate and middle school instrumental music suite, the Alden Community Playground located at the intermediate school, the LED lighting upgrade at the athletic field, redoing the primary bus loop, and a whole lot of roofs at the middle school, high school, and intermediate school, and bus garage, just to name some.
After all of that work was said and done, the CBC found out that there was funds left over in the project. The committee looked to address some of the items that originally couldn't fit into the scope of Renovations 2014 with those leftover funds. The leftover funds is why we were able to recently address concerns with the eaves at the primary school and remodeling the deteriorating entrance at the intermediate school.
It is important to note that all of the items that the Community-Based Committee discusses stem from what's known as a building condition survey, which is done by the third-party company who addresses the district's buildings and infrastructure. The survey identifies areas of concern and provides the district with a timeline of how long they have to address it before equipment or infrastructure is expected to fail or simply be beyond its useful life.
Currently, the Building Condition Survey has identified upwards of $35 million worth of work across the district. While that number seems overwhelming, keep in mind that some of those items identified may be 10 or more years out.
The Community-Based Committee works to review that information with district officials and identify the most pressing items and the most logical and financially responsible ways to address them. We spoke with Community-Based Committee member and former Mayor Dick Kegler about the involvement with the CBC and their work ahead of the capital project proposal.
Back in 2013, Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Stoltman, put out a request for the public to see if they would like to join the committee to look at the updating of the school system through the projects that we've done. First project that we were concerned with was Renovations 2014. One of our main concerns at that time was to do the structural and mechanical portions of the schools, meaning the roofs, pointing of the buildings and that, the flashings, new boilers and things like that. One of our ideas was that we wanted to keep the kids safe and warm inside. We wanted to make sure that everything was structurally sound for them to be inside here. They've taken on with the security systems in the schools now to keep the students safe. That's basically it, what we wanted to do through that first round. About a year ago, seeing that Renovations 2014 was winding down, the project was almost complete. Mr. Stoltman again called upon us to come up with some ideas for something new to come in. Again, we're going to address structural and mechanical problems in some of the schools. We are taking into consideration, like we did back then, all the buildings or all the campuses that the school has and takes care of. To me, it's the updating of everything and the remodeling of everything. I look at it as my home. You certainly want to update stuff to keep it in running condition. Like I say, it's going to be used for a long time yet. It's not going to go away. And cost-wise, I look at two things. Number one, cost. Most of it is going to be covered. There's going to be no increase on the tax rate, except for the pool. That's going to be one thing that's going to have an increase on it. But I still look at that cost is still low, and I look at who's going to be paying that. And I have two children that live here, have their own homes. I now have a grandson who just purchased a home here in the town with his wife. They're going to be paying on it, and when you can do this type of a project, this magnitude, and include that with Renovations 2014, we're looking at $25 million worth of improvements over them two projects. And this is a great thing as far as I'm concerned. If you could do that with your home, that would be beautiful. But it's just one of those things that I just feel that a project of these magnitudes is something that the people in the school district should be proud of. The school has done a good job with doing their homework, keeping those reserves there. That's a very important thing. I think this is a project that's deserved in the community. It's not just for the students. It's not just for the school here itself. It's for the entire community. It's going to help keep the adults in the community. Things can be brought back into the school system. I know we talked about the school down the roads hosting the sectionals and for the kids and things like that. That brings people into the community and allows basically money to be spent here. You're going to have a lot of outsiders when you bring division championships or sectional championships into the area. And I know with the cross-country meet that was just held this past weekend, you get 400 kids and 800 parents. That's a lot of people here to look forward to, and it does a lot of good for the community. So these projects I really think they're worthwhile here to have here.
Like Mr. Kegler just said, after nearly a year of meetings with architects, contractors, and school administrators, the Community-Based Committee is proposing this capital project in 3 different propositions, which can be broken down as the following. Proposition 1, protect the community's investment and focus on the safety of our students. Proposition 2, address a major district and community resource. And Proposition 3, enter into an energy performance contract to invest in building infrastructure.
Our news team has been breaking down what each proposition entails, and our team coverage of Proposition 1 begins with Samantha Bishop at the Intermediate School. Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam Bishop with Wax News. I interviewed Intermediate School Principal John Mikulski on the proposed capital project regarding the Intermediate School corridors. I sat down with him and asked him why he thought these renovations would be necessary.
So, as you're aware, this past year there's been a lot of work being done on the outside of the building as part of the Renovations 2014 project. So it's logical to kind of bring that work inside. So I think updating the hallways is really the first logical step to doing that. This building has a lot of history to it. There's 3 or 4 buildings that are all put together to make up the intermediate school, and those buildings range from the 1914 building on Park Street up to the 1951 building, which houses our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. Each of those buildings has a lot of history to it, but at the same time they're all kind of separate in different ways. So updating the hallway is a way to make it a little bit more continuous and bring the building together. The renovations are going to brighten up the space here, and that's, I think, important to have that visual appear when you come in the building. The colors currently are a little dated, so it's going to be an opportunity to just freshen up the place and really go along with the spirit of what it means to be a student at the intermediate school.
Now back to Alex and Brooke in the studio.
And that's true. When you walk into that nice new entrance in the intermediate school, it transitions into a dark and dated area.
For sure. The area needed some substantial upgrades for quite some time, and I think everyone agrees. The challenge, I think, for the design team will be to preserve the historic look of the building.
Right. That side of the building is actually from the 1930s, and of course it bumps up into the Park Street side built in 1914, which was the old high school building.
The next item on the list for Proposition 1 is just down the hall from the intermediate corridors in the science wing of Alden Middle School. For years, science teachers and students have been faced with a dated environment and disrepair that is certainly not conducive for modern learning objectives. For more on the science rooms and the work need to be done there, we go to Spencer Kepner, who is able to meet with the staff at the middle school.
Hi, I'm Spencer Kepner with Wax News, and I'm reporting on the condition of the science rooms in the middle school. With the Vision 2020 capital project, if Proposition 1 passes, they will be repaired.
Well, during labs, cleanup time is interesting because the countertops don't really come clean, and you can keep wiping them, and there's some wood showing, so you know when they wipe down parts, got to watch for slivers. During class times, I've had cabinet doors randomly fall off. Can't have a projector mounted from my ceiling because of the way the ceiling is designed. The outdated gas lines, 6th graders often will turn the knobs thinking something's going to come out, but they're shut off, so it's a distraction. Countertops, cabinets, and the ceiling definitely needs to be done.
Good.
Clearly, the rooms are in poor condition and urgently need repairs. If Proposition 1 passes, money will be spent to repair the rooms at the middle school. Now back to Alex and Brooke in the studio.
Across the parking lot, one of the top items identified as being at the end of their useful life is the track at the athletic field. The Buildings and Grounds office reports that many repairs have been made to the track, but even that, with those repairs, something still needs to be done about the track as it approaches the end of its useful life, which is at about in another year. In the last several years, the athletic field has extended beyond hosting just football games, but boys and girls soccer games under the lights and countless track and field meets. However, as Kayla Durenda reports, all of those events face challenges as well.
Hello, I'm Kayla Durenda here at Alden's Track. As you can see, the track is long outdated with only 2 years left and beyond its point of rehab. Along with the track needing to be repaired, the athletic field also needs to be addressed. When the new lights were installed, they intentionally placed them back further in hopes of the athletic field being ripped up for a brand new field. Issue of the track being replaced is in later years the football field will be replaced. That new track will have to be ripped up again. Proposition 1 will replace the entire track and the athletic field. Today, the Alden Bulldogs visited the Hamburg Bulldogs and their state-of-the-art athletic field. And we found out the perks of that facility.
Question. I think the impact is a positive one. Our school is always among the top schools in terms of scholar athletes. And I think having a quality facility, it helps us to recruit young people to be involved in our programs, and B, then we have them there and we can use it for educational athletics and explain to them the benefits of athletics and that it's a privilege, not a right to be involved. But I certainly think our community takes great pride in it, our students take great pride in it, and I think it's a positive along those lines. Well, the perks are it's state-of-the-art. You know, it's a facility like you would see on TV for colleges and professionals. Okay, safety-wise, you know, the one thing that doesn't happen in the turf that happens in the grass is a student's cleat gets stuck. You know, so that's not going to happen here. There's certain, especially in the spring where the weather is very difficult, there may be teams that call us and say, hey, can we use the facility? And if we can, we do. We host we've hosted the ECIC track meet. We've hosted the Far West regionals for boys lacrosse. So a quality facility gives you the ability to perhaps do those things. Again, we have phys ed every day, middle school and high school if the weather is cooperating. But one of the real perks is in the early spring season where everybody's fields are still drying out. You know, we can have boys and girls lacrosse practice here. We do have baseball and softball practice from time to time where they can get their ground balls, their pop flies, that kind of thing. So that's certainly, you know, while some people can't get out in their field, we've even had scrimmages, you know. And the snow, basically as the weather begins to break, there'll be snow out there. We've usually put the boys and girls lacrosse team out to do some conditioning, and they run through it, and that seems to help. But the snow dissipates fairly quickly. It dries fairly quickly.
Coach Colley had the time to talk about the impact of the athletic field on the community.
The community, our village and town rec, and the town of Boston, of all of which can come to Hamburg High School, their recreational programs use our facility. We invite the young people in those facilities to be participants at like halftime events and things of that nature. So we try to make it a situation where it's something for the kids to work for, because once they make the varsity and if they're on a field, they're going to play, whether it's girls soccer, football, field hockey, lacrosse, it doesn't matter. They'll be on our field for their games.
From Hamburg High School, I'm Kayla Durenda.
Our very own Brooke Meyer was just down the hall at the Wilson R. Conrad Memorial Auditorium, a district and community asset, to look at the next item under Proposition 1. And this is what she learned.
Hi, I'm Brooke Meyer from Wax News, reporting from the auditorium. In Proposition 1 of the upcoming capital project known as Vision 2020, new updates are planning to be made to the auditorium house lighting system. As you can see, the lighting here is in need of some improvements. There is a dramatic difference from when I stand here and when I stand here. This is just one of the many issues with the auditorium lighting. I interviewed Mr. Mashi regarding the problems with the lighting system and the plan to improve it. Here's what he had to say.
The lighting system when it was installed was kind of at the end of the technology wave for theatrics. Very soon after, everything started shifting towards LED technology. And we're very fortunate here that we've been able to have updates to the stage lighting system, so that we are running on LEDs there, which is very great for the terms of energy efficiency and limiting the heat on stage for the performers and kids in concerts and that sort of thing. The flip side of that is that the house lighting system that we are using is still very old. The system is powered actually off of a floppy disk that runs the program for that system, and obviously that means that it's a little dated. Nothing that we're using right now runs on a floppy disk. So the house lighting system that you see behind me actually is used for all of our events, whether they be community events, ceremonies, musicals and plays, concerts, assemblies, that kind of thing.
Mr. Mashi emphasized that this renovation is so important because the auditorium is not just the high school auditorium, it's the district auditorium.
And that means that we house events for all students K through 12 and as well as our community. So the lights log a lot of hours. Every time the space is on, the house lights are on. The stage lights might not be, but the house lights are. And the fixtures are just simply going bad. Any given time, there's numerous lights that are out. It takes 2 maintenance or custodial staff members to change those fixtures, so there's a spotter and somebody up top changing them, and to turn the lights on and off and that kind of thing. And it's becoming very costly to keep replacing the bulbs in those fixtures. Unlike a fixture in your house, we can't just swap it out for a more up-to-date LED bulb. That's not how these lights work. They are on a system tied with our theatrical lights, and they need to be for the purpose of doing what we do here in this space. So it's a little bit more beyond just replacing the bulbs themselves. The entire module backstage runs off the floppy disk has to be replaced, and the fixtures have to be replaced as well. As I said, this space isn't really a high school auditorium. It's a district auditorium. And the district has done a great job of pairing with lots of different community members and community organizations to use the space as well. The space houses anything from concerts to Veterans Day Assembly to blood drives to the summer rec programs, dance recitals, to a variety of other community meetings. And this has become a hub, if you would, for anything from staff development to community development to theatrical productions. And the whole community at some point has probably been in this space, or family members have, and it's become an incredible asset to the district.
When asked about the plans for the renovations, Mr. Mashi explained that the lighting system will be replaced with one that is not only compatible with our other systems, but is also up to date with current theatrical systems.
This project really needs to be done simply based on the amount of events that we hold here every year. Last year, there were 136 different assemblies, concerts, productions, blood drives, you name it, held here in this space. And with that comes 1,500 plus hours that were spent on that system that is already in disrepair. So the benefit of doing this project is simply that we can continue to provide an incredible resource with some of the best technology and have that resource available for our school and our school community to continue to use.
This is just one of the many renovations that will be made if Proposition 1 passes. From Wax News, I'm Brooke Meyer. Now back to the studio. Next up, the community-based committee identified the district's fuel tank at the bus garage to be a timely concern as well. Alex Ward met with Transportation Supervisor Deborah Hoffman to talk about those concerns, and little do most people know, how it impacts the community's resources as well.
Hi, I am Alex, and a reporter from Wax News. I am here to report on the underground gas tank by the bus garage. It is part of Proposition number 1 of the capital project vote. This proposition focuses on protecting community investment and safety of the students. I spoke with Ms. Hoffman. She is the supervisor of transportation.
We need to replace the fuel tank because it was installed underground in 1986. The average lifespan of a fuel tank is between 20 and 30 years. So we're at 31 years right now, and probably before we even get to replacing it, it'll be another 2 years. Using the fuel tank right now is 197 vehicles, because not only is it our buses, it's buildings and grounds. We have the Alden Department of Public Works, the Alden Fire Department, the Crittenden Fire Department, so we all utilize the unleaded tank. The fuel tank was installed in 1986. It's a steel, double-lined, underground gasoline fuel tank. Well, because of all of the companies that use it, you know, the town, the bus garage, buildings and grounds, we get our fuel at a discounted rate. But what we want to make sure is that it's a safe, because of all the additives that are in gasoline. If it would happen to have a leak, it would probably pollute our groundwater. And because of the chemicals they put in gasoline to protect the air, they're very water soluble, and they would go immediately into the water.
They keep a lot of detailed records of how much gas has been used and how much is in the tank. They do this to see if there are any leaks underground. If there was a leak, cleanup is expensive. The tank would need to be removed and replaced. The soil and water would have to be treated. We would have to pay fines. The Environmental Protection Agency is in the process of updating regulations and may require all underground tanks to be replaced.
Another item on the transportation end of things is the parking lot at the primary school. You might remember that the bus loop end of the parking lot was completely redone in renovations 2014. Now the community-based committee has decided the issues on the parent and visitor side need to be addressed as well. Brittany Chase has more on that for us now.
The board has discussed the proposal for the primary school located on Broadway near Town Line. The proposition states that they want to make a new drop-off system in front of the school. Right now, with the system that they have, it gets very crammed in the mornings and afternoons with dropping off and picking up the children. The proposition states that they will make a loop around the front entrance and make it a one-way. This kind of system is already done for the middle and high schools, which makes it easier in the mornings and afternoons. The primary school already has a loop for the busage, which ever since renovation 2014, the loop has made it easier and safer for dropping and picking up the kids. For this proposition, I interviewed Mr. Lyons, who is the principal at Alden Primary School.
As you might be aware, in renovation 2014 at Alden Primary, the west side of our parking area was replaced and updated. Very worn blacktop, and it was dug deep and with drainage, and the width of the driveway was expanded, as well as the bus area and the turnaround here at Alden Primary. This is made for a safer exit and entrance for our many buses in the morning and the afternoon. One of the components of Vision 2020 is to do some similar work on the east side of our school here at Alden Primary. And first of all, the parking area itself with the blacktop and the base needs some work. And I understand it would enlarge the parent drop-off and pickup, which is used quite a bit, AM and PM, and with a separate exit, because right now our vehicles are kind of moving against each other. This would offer a larger area for student safety, and then with a dedicated one-way exit to the campus. So again, a couple of good ideas: A, to replace the worn parking area, and then along with improvements for the drop-off and exit. So this is again one proposed component of Visions 2020 that would make a positive effect on Alden Primary and certainly student safety. Parent safety is always our mission. Thank you for your support of our schools throughout the years and with Visions 2020 proposals.
Roofs, 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 and more roofs. It seems like every time a capital project is discussed, the idea of doing roofs comes up. Well, simply put, there's a lot of ground to cover when it comes to the district's roofs, and each are staggered in terms of useful life. For a thorough roof report, we go now to Jillian Dake.
One of the components being addressed in Proposition 1 of Vision 2020 is the rest of the roofs that are in disrepair across the district. You may remember that quite a few roofs were replaced in the previous capital project, Renovations 2014. However, there are still many roofs that require attention. According to the roof report assembled by architects, there are still some roofs dating back to 1989 that need to be replaced. These and several other roofs are at or about to be beyond their warranty. Some of the roofs that need to be addressed are the high school roofs dating back to 1989, the middle school intermediate school dating to 1996, the primary school dating back to 1996 and 2003. The roofs being staggered in terms of years is actually economically strategic, so the district wouldn't have to pay to do all the roofs at once again in the future. The footage here shows some of the differences of the roofs at the high school alone. The intermediate school and middle school roofs are also topped with stones. These stones are causing the water to form puddles underneath and destroying parts of the roof where the puddles are formed. The HVAC systems need to be replaced as well. Since both need replacement, it makes the most sense to do HVAC systems at the same time so that the roofs aren't cut into and destroyed at a later date, because it could void the roof's warranty. One of the components in Proposition 1 is to address the remaining roof concerns, as well as heating and cooling systems on the roofs. For the latest news and developments of Vision 2020, be sure to follow us at wacs.aldenschools.org and on Facebook and Twitter. For WACS News, I'm Jillian Dake.
And that wraps up all of the components of Proposition 1 of Vision 2020. So in summary, that's renovated science rooms at the middle school, a new athletic field and track, renovated locker rooms for the high school pool, replacing the house lighting package for the district auditorium, replacing the fuel tank at the bus garage, renovating the parking lot and the primary school, renovating the remaining roofs around the district, and remodeling the corridors at the intermediate school, all in no further cost or tax impact to taxpayers in the community. This morning, we've been talking all about the proposed capital improvement project, Vision 2020.
We just wrapped up Proposition 1, a proposition with an emphasis on warm, safe, and dry components, plus items that address athletics and community use, as well as academic and arts and music.
Now, looking at Proposition 2, we dive into issues facing major school and community resource, the district's pool. Our very own Alex Lee investigated for us.
Proposition 2 of Vision 2020 is aimed at updating a large school and community asset, the high school pool. Looking at our facility, it is no secret that there are many issues that need to be addressed. Our facility has grown old beyond its useful life, as it was built to the original building that was opened in 1964. You may remember that the phys ed side of the locker rooms, both the boys and girls sides, were renovated at the high school as part of the renovations 2014. However, the outer portion of the locker rooms, including the shower and changing area for the pool, was not in the scope of the work for that project. This means that unfortunately, the pool side of the locker rooms are still in disrepair. The showers, lighting, and general infrastructure are beyond the useful lives. All of these concerns would be addressed in the work associated with Proposition 2. Anyone wishing to watch a swim meet or a swim lesson will quickly realize that these bleachers become uncomfortable, cramped, and a very warm place to sit. Post work of Proposition 2, there would be comfortable seating for approximately 300 people, including ADA seating. This would bring Alden up to par for sectionals and other athletic contests. It would also provide a more comfortable area for recreation programs and swim lessons. The pool continues to be a large asset for our school and community, with a large portion of the overall usage being from local senior citizens. This means an ADA entrance is required for seniors and students with mobility issues. We took a trip to William Street School in Lancaster to tour a more modern aquatic center and to see more updated features of an up-to-date facility.
So our pool at Alden is not deep enough for diving, so we have this pool is designed to have it, you need 12 feet, and our pool is only 12 feet, or 10 feet, so we have no diving opportunities at this point in time. The lighting in this area in this pool is very good. The lighting in Alden is not. It's very dark. It's almost a safety issue in terms of seeing everything that's going on, although we're always very careful. But this is great, and this is the kind of lighting that you'd like to have in a pool situation like this. And one of the great things about this pool, the way it's designed, is the access ramp, okay? This is wonderful for the elderly, our senior citizens, anyone with disabilities, parents trying to enter with small children, instructors getting in and out, but especially for any of our handicapped citizens or the seniors. The seniors love this ramp. Got nice railings, it's easy to enter, and just walk in and you're in a safe place, in a safe way.
Another important piece with our pool too is we have the ramp that's situated, and this obviously helps for any student or adult that has disabilities. I know during the day, there are a number of our students who have some disabilities who utilize the ramp, as well as during our community ed. A lot of times we have adults with special needs who utilize the pool. That ramp absolutely helps out. Another benefit of having the ramp there as well is for students who are a little reluctant to venture off into the deeper waters, so to speak. Eases some of their anxiety. They can easily enter the pool going through the ramp, that point of zero entry, so to speak, where until they are acclimated and feel more comfortable, there's spots for students to just be comfortable while in the water until they are confident enough to venture off into deeper areas of the pool.
All right, another thing that's wonderful about this pool situation is the deck is rolled, so there's good drainage, and the tiles are clean and clear, and you don't have the slippage problems that we have at Alden, where you have to walk very slow. So drainage is key here, and this is done very nicely here. Okay, well, another aspect about our proposal at Alden is we would have a separate entrance to the pool so that better access into the pool area, and we wouldn't have folks roaming around the school at all. You'd have their own entrance, keep it confined to that area, and that would be a great asset also, like it is here.
For Wax News at William Street Schools in Lancaster, I'm Alex Lee.
As you showed us, there is a lot of work to be done in the pool facility, as it essentially is original to the building from 1964.
That's right. The difference with Proposition 2 from the others is that there's a slight tax impact on the community. Granted, the district hasn't had a tax increase in several years now.
But simply put, there are almost $6 million worth of work to be done at the pool, and it's probably used as much, if not more, by the community.
Right. One of the conversations had with the architects is that basically a 50-year investment, if not more, because the pool has survived 53 years now. Granted, it is in disrepair, which has got us into this point. In the grand scheme of things, about $4 a year for that facility is a great deal, looking at the plans the architects have come up with. Today we're talking about all the aspects of the proposed capital project, Vision 2020.
We've summarized Proposition 1, a proposal with an emphasis on warm, safe, and dry components, plus items that address athletics and community use, as well as academics and arts and music with zero tax impact on the community.
Proposition 2 is a full renovation of the current pool to be a state-of-the-art aquatic center for the school and community, which will be used for decades at a slight tax impact for the community.
Proposition 3 is also aimed at addressing much-needed upgrades for the district's infrastructure related to energy efficiency by entering into an energy performance contract, or EPC.
We go to Zach Bennett, who sat down with our superintendent, Mr. Stoltman, to discuss what an EPC entails.
Proposition 3 of the proposed Vision 2020 capital project is entering an energy performance contract, or an EPC. An EPC is an agreement that the district does with a contractor to focus on energy upgrades to the school and the district, such as aging HVAC, lighting, and electrical systems. We sat down with Mr. Stolman to see what the district was looking to do with an EPC.
The major benefit to an energy performance contract is simply that the savings from all the work being done pays for the work, pays for the equipment, pays for the improvements that are made. The district is considering entering into an energy performance contract for that simple reason. It's an opportunity for us to get a substantial amount of work completed and paid for through energy savings. Some of the initial scope of the project for the energy performance contract include improving our lighting fixtures and our lights to LED, which are incredibly more efficient and utilize much less energy. Other items include the replacement of the boilers at the primary school and a boiler here at the high school. The other things we're looking at is the systematic devices that we use to control our heating ventilation systems. In addition to that, we are also identified opportunities in some of our gymnasiums to install fans in the ceilings to push some heat down in the winter. As you can imagine, heat rises and it gets trapped up in our ceilings, and by just simply installing fans every so many feet, you can push that heat down and thus reduce the heating cost in that area.
Now back to Brooke and Alex and Stu.
Again, it is important to point out that the district is able to enter into this contract even without voter approval. However, with community adopting the proposal, the district has the ability to potentially obtain an additional 10% in state aid. Well, all that's left now is to get out and vote. Vision 2020 is out for a community vote on December 12th at the high school in the cafeteria.
The community can vote on all three propositions. Again, in summary, Prop 1 covers warm, safe, and dry items, including athletics and community areas, and requires no tax impact for the community. Proposition 2 is a full remodel of the pool at the high school to be a state-of-the-art resource for the school and community, with a tax impact of approximately $4 a year for a $100,000 home.
Prop 3 is the energy performance contract with no future tax impact on the community. The EPC is aimed at addressing energy efficiency concerns, where the cost of saving essentially pays for the work that is done.
Again, the capital project vote is on December 12th at the high school in the cafeteria.
That about does it for this special edition of The Breakfast Plan. For the latest Vision 2020 updates and Alden news, be sure to follow us through our website, wacs.aldenschools.org, and on Facebook and Twitter by searching WACS News.
Thanks for waking up with us. For WACS News, I'm Alex Lee.
And I'm Brooke Meyer, and that's what's happening in your world today.